Hello my fellow gamer, it's Griffin here and welcome back to another POE 2 video. Today I'm happy to share with you my Invoker Lightning Spear build with full conversion from lightning to cold. Our character reached level 91, we are using all 3 heralds, a custom crit and a custom freeze setup. We are chilling, freezing, shocking, igniting and shattering entire groups of monsters even off screen with one spear throw. The build has insane damage, melts bosses HP with ease, annihilates monsters in T16 maps and elevates mapping experience to a whole new level. Let's talk about it. Let's dive in. Gear. We are using the T16 Spear, an absolutely amazing weapon with an insane base crit hit chance. We've invested significantly into crit chance and crit damage bonus, more about this in the passive skill tree section, and now every hit has almost 100% chance to crit and our character has more than 350% critical damage bonus. This is very important because the description of the T16 Spear states forks critical hits. This is amazing because hits with this weapon roll against their critical hit chance twice when determining if they are critical hit. In other words, each hit before is applied is rolled twice to determine if it will be a crit or not. If one of these two rolls will succeed being a crit, then the critical damage bonus is applied as per normal. However, if both rolls would succeed being critical hits, then for that hit, the crit damage bonus is applied twice. In this case, more than 700% critical damage bonus is applied if both rolls would succeed being a critical hit. We are using Hand of Wisdom and Action Gloves that give flat lightning damage per 20 intelligence and 1% attack speed per 20 dex. We are also using Call of the Brotherhood Ring that converts all lightning damage into cold damage for a massive cold damage boost and very fast freeze buildup with every hit. We are using the Deepest Tower item, a fantastic helmet that makes enemies in our character's presence count being on low life. We are boosting damage against enemies on low life significantly by allocating points into the passive skill tree, especially finishing blows and stars align, and we've instilled finality on the amulet for an extra 120% damage against enemies on low life, and we're using execute support gem on a storm lance for 50% more damage against enemies on low life. In the offhand, we are using an Omen Scepter that provides the Malice skill and minimum 170 spirit to be able to support all the spirit gems that we'll go over in detail in the gems section. This scepter also provides increased character's presence area of effect that was reduced by wearing the Deepest Tower item. The body armor has a ton of evasion, good amount of life and resistances that alongside the rest of the gear will allow our character to be elemental resistance capped and above 80% chance to evade. Preferably chaos resistance would be at least 50%. We are using an amulet that provides increased evasion, much needed attributes, life and spirit to be able to use all the spirit gems required for this build. The total amount of spirit used is 320. This is the gear so far. Gems. We are using Lightning Spear with Cold Infusion, Ice Bite, Glaciation, Inevitable Critical, and Vault. Storm Lance is a boss destroyer and we're using it with Overextend, Blindside, Primal Armament, Execute, and Martial Tempo. Infernal Cry with Premeditation, Tireless, Raging Cry, and Ingenuity. I want to give a big shout out to 2 viewers of our channel that mentioned Infernal Cry skill being a must use in a Lightning Spear build with Wind Serpent's Fury skill for the Deadeye Ascendancy. Thank you for your excellent suggestion. It is extremely powerful against bosses as empowers our character's next melee attack and adds up to 150% fire damage if the quality of the gem is at 20%. Indeed works exceptionally well with the Deadeye Ascendancy because Deadeye can generate and recover frenzy charges very fast and would use it to its full potential. However, for the Invoker Ascendancy, because we don't generate frenzy charges as fast as the Deadeye, I find Stormlance skill to be more suitable against bosses and synergizes very well with its major Ascendancy nodes as well. I've tested this build against bosses using Spear Throw, Spear Stab, Infernal Cry with Wind Serpent's Fury, but the setup that seems to be more consistent and efficient for the Invoker Ascendancy is Infernal Cry, Outbound Fury, Spear Stab and Stormlance. Feel free to replace Stormlance with Wind Serpent's Fury if you prefer, and choose the one that best suits your playstyle. Cast on crit with Sniper's Mark, Overabundance, Frost Bomb, Hypothermia and Impetus. Cast on freeze with Frost Bolt, Eye of Winter, Unleashed, Scattershot and Wild Shards. Herald of Ice with Stormfire, Lightning Infusion, Conduction, Overcharge and Immolate. Herald of Thunder with Cold Exposure, Strip Away, Cold Penetration, Reach and Deep Freeze. Herald of Ash with Magnified Effect, Combat Frenzy with Profusion and Precision. For defense we're using Wind Dancer with Maim and Clarity. Spear Stab with Blind, Concentrated Effect, Pinpoint Critical, Calling Strike and Rage. Once we unlock an I Shall Rage major Ascendancy node, we gain access to Unbound Avatar skill. We are using it with Persistence, Lightning Mastery, Cold Mastery and Fire Mastery. Make sure you add 20% quality, especially for the Stormlance gem, for +1 to the Lodge Spear for a total of 3 Lodge Spears into the ground. Lightning Spear to fire 2 additional bolts, Frost Bomb for 20% increased cold exposure effect, Herald of Ice for increased explosion radius, Cast on crit for 10% reduced reservation, and Combat Frenzy for 20% chance when you gain a charge to gain an additional charge. Passive skill tree. For a level 91 character, passive skill tree looks like this. Feel free to access the Mobalytics link in the video description for the passive skill tree, gems and gear for a level 91, the endgame version for the Invoker. We are using the following jewels. Try to look for jewels that have these stats: cold damage, crit damage bonus, increased presence area of effect, and recover 2% of maximum life on kill for one of the jewels, and the other two will have similar stats but recover 2% of maximum mana on kill to be able to sustain the cost of all the spells triggered. We focus on elemental damage, crit, evasion, increased damage against enemies on low life, and meta skills gain increased energy. Regarding elemental damage nodes, we take Vile Wounds for increased damage with hits against enemies affected by elemental ailments, Harness the Elements for 15% increased damage for each type of elemental ailment on the enemy, and the nodes leading to it over increased freeze buildup and elemental damage, Essence of the Mountain to gain 5% of damage as extra cold damage and also increased freeze buildup. We've taken Echoing Flame for 30% increased elemental damage if we ignite an enemy recently, Echoing Frost for 30% increased elemental damage if we chilled an enemy recently, and Echoing Thunder for 30% increased elemental damage if we shocked an enemy recently. The amazing node Heavy Frost for increased freeze buildup, and hits against frozen enemies ignore non-negative elemental resistances. Thin Ice for increased freeze buildup and 50% increased damage with hits against frozen enemies. Coming Calamity for 50% increased fire damage while affected by Herald of Ash, 50% increased cold damage while affected by Herald of Ice, and 50% increased lightning damage while affected by Herald of Thunder. Regarding crit nodes, we've selected Dispatch Foes, Moment of Truth, for the Jugular, Throat Seeker, Struck Through, Hard Stopping, and Hard Breaking. We're boosting evasion by allocating Cat-like Agility, Bestial Skin, Enhanced Reflexes, and Mindful Awareness. Regarding increased damage against enemies on low life, we've selected these small nodes and each give 30% increased damage against enemies on low life. We've also selected Finishing Blows and Stars Aligned and we've instilled finality on the amulet for an additional 120% increased damage against enemies that are on low life. In regards to the meta skills, we've selected these nodes and also Dynamism and Energize. The reason we're not selecting the nodes to gain all 7 frenzy charges and we only rely on the 3 we get by default is that Lightning Spear and Storm Lance make use of 1 frenzy charge at a time if available, and having a maximum of 3 is enough and sustainable in this case as we're not using Wind Serpent's Fury in this build. For leveling up, we start investing into elemental damage and evasion. At level 45 we'll gain access to the Deepest Tower helmet and we'll start allocating points into the damage against enemies on low life, and once we reach Act 3 Cruel difficulty we'll start focusing on critical nodes. If you have the currency, you can add 4 or 5 links to the respective gems for a fast and efficient leveling experience. Ascendancy. We've chosen the Monk class and selected the Invoker Ascendancy. We start with I am the Blizzard to gain 10% damage of extra cold damage and to create chilled ground on freezing enemies, a very useful feature. Sunder my enemies is an absolutely amazing node. Critical hits ignore non-negative elemental resistances. Considering that our character has almost 100% chance to crit, we'll gain a colossal boost in damage by using this node. The Soul Springs Eternal is a very useful major node that allows meta skills to gain 35% more energy, and this is one of the main reasons we trigger the socketed spell so often. And I Shall Rage gives the Unbound Avatar skill that synergizes very well with the overall build. Our character gains Unbound Fury when inflicting elemental ailments on hit. While Unbound, our character gains 40% more elemental damage, 40% more elemental ailments build up, and 80% more chance to inflict elemental ailments. It lasts 9.9 seconds. Conclusion. The Invoker represents a fantastic choice for the Lightning Spear build. Playing this build with the Invoker Ascendancy is immensely enjoyable and extremely fun. Every spear throw feels like an event, a special moment, something wonderful that reminds us why we love playing this game. The fun, the thrill, the excitement, the joy of discovery and progression, it's all there waiting to be unraveled by the next spear throw in a glorious and spectacular fashion. It's truly an epic experience that redefines the notion of fun builds and reminds us why we love gaming so much. There are very strong reasons to choose the Invoker over the Amazon or the Deadeye Ascendancies, especially for the mapping experience. I'm not saying one is better than the other, all 3 Ascendancies are absolutely amazing and represent great choices. While playing the Lightning Spear build, the Invoker feels significantly different than the other 2 Ascendancies. Deadeye can generate frenzy charges fast and can fight with efficiency from a distance. The Amazon has skill speed, crit, accuracy, and can exploit enemies' weakness even at melee range. Invoker, though, has a different approach. He's the master of the elements and can ignite, shock, chill, freeze, and shatter overwhelming hordes of monsters in fractions of a second through great synergy between powerful skills and spells. He's able to trigger them very often by allowing meta skills to gain more energy through the Soul Springs Eternal Major Ascendancy node, making the Invoker the best choice for this type of playstyle. Against bosses is extremely powerful and can build up freeze quickly, can lower their cold resistance way below 0, ignores non-negative elemental resistances on crit, and delivers tremendous amount of elemental damage through the Unbound Avatar skill. The end result is astonishing, truly remarkable. If you're struggling with your current build, you may consider trying this one out. I had a blast playing this build and I highly recommend it. And this concludes our look at the Invoker Lightning Spear build with full conversion from lightning to cold. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you have any questions, feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed it, feel free to give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to get notifications about new content uploaded on this channel. Thank you so much for watching. All the best. Bye.